finding that a lot of young professionals, they get into college, they get a degree, they get a degree, they get into a certain field, find out it's not for them, so they decide to switch careers. So what recommendations would you have for people who are switching careers and trying even to get into something that they have little or no experience in?
Well, that's like a great commercial for my program. That's probably one of the number one things that happens. Most of the people, young people that come to my program, last year my youngest was 20, my oldest was 47, wow. And I had 15 people there that were over 30, right? Mm-hmm. And they were the ones exactly you're talking about. They've been in a business 7 years, they're 30 years old, and they're going, wait a minute, is this what I want to do? So what we try to do with them is we bring in 60 business executives from everything from companies like Glen size to big companies to NGOs to doctors who have decided to start their own clinic. And they sit around and they talk about other businesses, other disciplines. And if you're an accounting major, I want you to take an international marketing course in my program, right? And if you're a marketing person, I'm going to put you in a joint venture course, right? I'm going to try to get you out of your comfort zone. If you're an engineer, I'm going to put you in business, right? So we're trying to give people a dosage of a lot of other ideas so that they can sit back and say, listen, if I'm going to make this change at this point in my life, what am I going to go to? I got to know something about it. And that's really critical because young people are going through that. A lot of young people are going through it, right?
It's very true. I remember years ago I had read a statistic. It was that the average college grad will go through 7 career changes between college and retirement.
Wow.
And I read something recently, it said 10 career changes. So, first off, I want to say, don't feel bad. So if you graduate the university and you have a certain discipline and you find yourself gravitating to something else, don't feel bad. I mean, it's just the way things are. But that, I think part of that is because there's so many more opportunities open to people. I mean, years ago, you went into business that your parents were in, and that's how you did it.
And when I got but even before I got my job with AT&T, I was in the military. Then I was in a public relations job, in a school system, right? And then I got into a very big company, but I always had this kind of entrepreneurial spirit. So what I did is I went overseas and I got to do a lot of little businesses around the world because I was in a big company, but yet I was still feeling like I wanted to do my own thing, right? So the opportunities out there, is just that the problem for you and I as employers, though, is that the young people coming into our businesses today are not going to stay.
Right.
And we used to think they would, right? But they're not.
Yeah.
They're the 10 that you're talking about, the 10 moves.
Right.
And we as employers have got to figure out how do we deal with that.
That's part of the issue, absolutely, of hiring
really
people.
Serious.
And it's something that I want to caution young people on, too, is that you have to keep that in mind, that when you look for a position, is it really something you're going to be there long term for? Is it something that's short term? And you have to make an ethical decision of not taking a job. And I caution people on this. Don't do yourself a favor. Don't take a job while you're looking for another job, is my concept. And what I mean by that is, we all have to make a living. Don't misunderstand me. We have to have income. But when you go to a company, especially like mine, something that's small and we're growing, and you make a commitment to this person on the other side of the table thinking you're going to be there 10 years, and you're thinking, wow, as soon as I get somebody who offers me a higher pay, I'm out of here. That hurts you personally as well, and that's very important to understand that. It may sound exciting that you got a stepping stone or whatever you want to call it, but really it takes away something from the heart, and it'll leave you in a place that you really don't want to be.
Yeah. And the other side of that, of course, and I totally agree with you. I think that's the wrong thing to do. If they come to you and they're already thinking this way, it's a killer for you as a business.
Sure, absolutely.
On the other side, it's always the issue about don't do something that you really hate.
Yeah.
If you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life, right? If you really love what you're doing, you'll put your heart in it. The trick is to find what that is. Because you won't know that right away.
Yeah, that's right.
You won't know.
Yeah, so it sounds like, just to summarize, first of all, with an employer, if you're going in for a job, as a Christian, if you love your neighbors yourself, that's including your employer, and you need to be honest with them. And maybe, and if you work with them, and tell me if I'm wrong, if you go in there in an honest way and say, look, this is what I'm looking to do, maybe they'll help you and work with you to try to groom you or move you in a different direction, because you never know. So instead of being adversarial, now you're on the same side.
That's right.
And it also sounds like, even with different businesses, if you're trying to figure out, talk to people who are in those businesses, get to know them, and you know, and figure that out and get some experience. Because I would think people would be happy to let you come in a couple days and see what you're doing.
I was just doing a set of interviews for one of my director's jobs, and it was interesting because I was interviewing a lady who was a Christian. I know she's a Christian because of the organization and some friends of hers, right? And she's a mature lady, been working, and she, on the surface, could have taken my job, right? And we were talking in the interview, and I was thinking, and I was listening, and then I finally just asked her, and I said, do you really want to work this hard in this job with all these high school kids, da-da-da-da? And she looked at me and she said, I should tell you the truth. She said, I don't like what's happening in my current organization, and that's why I'm here talking to you. And yes, I have probably the experience to do the job, but as you talk about it, my heart is not there.
Right.
I don't know that I can put up with high school kids 4 weeks, 24/7 anymore, right? And she had to be, I got her to the point where, thank God, she was honest with me.
Sure.
Right? Because on the surface, we could have taken her, right?
Right.
But she had to be honest in that meeting because she wanted out of where she was. It's the wrong reason to come to my job.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that's a painful thing for a business owner, you know, when they
Yeah.
bring someone in, they spend all that money in training, and then when the person finally is gonna return something back to the company, they say, you know, this isn't for me, you're better off finding that out. I almost go to a point in my interviews of talking people out of the job.
Yeah.
Because I used to, when I was younger, find myself talking people into the job, which
Yeah.
is not a good thing. Yeah. So you almost have to, you want to find out really, do they have a heart for the job? It's not just a matter of credentials.
Right.
A lot of people come with good credentials, but do they really have the heart for the
I
job?
think that was exactly the issue, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. Thank you.